Hi everyone. I just wanted to give you a few thoughts on Module 1. Reading all the reactions was really good for me. I really appreciate the depth of thought and the depth of commitment that you're putting into it. Um, if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at some notes that I made. Um, so I really appreciated that people talked about the fact that student engagement and student learning must be happening as a result of teacher learning. And so that's a great point. And to that point, um, what I found in my career is that as a teacher, you have to take on your own learning and you have to then monitor whether that learning is having an impact. There's a lot of work out there on teacher efficacy, which is the next step to theory of action. Theory of action says that if we learn to do this as teachers, then student work should reflect it this way. Or if then. Um, but teacher efficacy says that the more we believe that we can make a change within our students, the more we will be able to make a change. So we have to keep looking at the results of our learning to see whether we're making an impact. And if we see that we're making an impact, then we'll continue to make greater impact. So it's like a self-sustaining system, teacher learning is. I also really like the quote, education is always evolving and teachers must adapt through professional development. And that's true. Our profession is always changing. The children that come to our classroom, they're the same children, they're the same age, but the environment that they grow up in is always vastly different. I wouldn't consider myself that old, but the children that I'm teaching are growing up in a vastly different environment than I grew up in. And I'm only about 20 years apart from the grade 11s that I teach. 20 years, geez. Even that gap is huge when you think about the environment that the students grow up in. So we do have to constantly adapt. It is not the same job as it was 20 years ago. Children are engaged in different ways, and we have to keep developing ourselves. You finish teachers college, and then you could teach 30 years with that same teaching degree. So we have to take on our own professional learning. So for question 1, I would add the importance of teacher efficacy and the importance of monitoring whether what you're learning actually has an impact. Question 2, I really like that a lot of people talked about drop-ins. So people popping into your class and you popping into other people's class. That is the best way that I learned in my career, is by looking at other people teach and by having other people watch me and me saying to them, hey, watch for this. This is what I'm working on. So those types of specific drop-ins are really, really helpful. And I really hope that those who said that will take it to heart and think about doing that in your career. Other people talked about having school goals aimed at teachers. Most schools should have that. So when you do get into a school, you will see that school goals will exist, and there'll be portions of it that are aimed at student learning, and then there are portions of it that are aimed at teacher learning in order to get to that student learning. So so your principal should have an idea of, how do I need to help my teachers so that they can help their students get to this point. And another thing is, a few people talked about what's formerly called moderated marking. Some people called it collaborative assessment, things like that. I want to draw your attention to one phrase called collaborative analysis of student work. And if you do get a chance to work with others on looking at student work, the protocol called collaborative analysis of student work is really powerful. It's not looking at all of your students. It's looking at some target students that have put forward interesting work and really analyzing it in depth to see how we can help this specific student. And if we look at how we can help a mystery student, then research says we will most likely help all of our students. Okay, so thank you so much for all of your participation. Keep up the great work, and I will try to keep up with these videos. It is like 11 o'clock right now. My month-old just went down, so I'm trying to keep up. Okay, so we'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the next module.